going to give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going to break you guys up into groups, and we're going to have you all figure out how to create an idea using renewable energy. Hey, what's going on, guys? This week I wanted to share a serendipitous story with you. Oftentimes, entrepreneurs, they only share the highlights of their journey, but they never tell you about some of the unexpected things that happen that lead them to great successes. And obviously, this is a day-by-day thing. You know, we have to grind through it, and occasionally you will reach this place where you're successful or you've hit a milestone that you were trying to reach. So I want to tell you a story about what happened about 2 years ago to the day. Here we go. Story time. So one day I was sitting in my office and I just started applying for pitch competitions. Surprisingly, I stumbled across a major one in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. This event, a major statewide event, would be hosted by Damon John of Shark Tank. About 2 weeks later, we received a finalist acceptance letter. My co-founder and I at the time put together a dazzling pitch presentation. When the time came, we drove to Des Moines and competed among 11 other finalists over a 2-day-long event. When our turn came to present, my then co-founder brushed off the jitters and went up on stage and blew their socks off. A panel of some of the most highly credentialed judges tallied up everyone's score, and we were informed that we would receive the results the following day. This was concerning because we still had a lot of work to do at home. So why stay in town if we didn't have to? Historically, we never performed particularly well in pitch competitions we entered. And to be frank, we were rejected from the majority of the ones we even applied for. So I asked the event coordinator to expedite the announcement to later that evening instead of tomorrow. And surprisingly, she agreed. Later that day, we went to a pub with another contestant and we had dinner together. Out of the blue, my phone started to ring. I received a string of text messages alerting us that we took first place. Man, let me tell you, we partied like it was 1999. The following day, there was an award ceremony where we gave a speech and met Damon, and a slew of other interested people and organizations came up to us, shook our hands, and the whole 9 yards. It was awesome. The serendipitous moment I told you about earlier, it happened when we ran into a guy who owned a nonprofit organization in Des Moines. He detailed the relationship with Microsoft and mentioned that they wanted us to teach a workshop for 30 young adults in Des Moines. I mean, obviously that's cool. So we scheduled the workshop for later that winter, and for those who don't know about Midwest winters, they suck. The entire way there was white knuckle driving. Driving from Chicago, apparently we just missed a major blizzard that blanketed Iowa in around 18 inches of snow. On the way there, I'd never seen so many jackknifed 18-wheelers and snow-buried cars in my entire life. So for your viewing pleasure, here's the Microsoft event in its entirety.
Are y'all guys going to be able to use that to be more successful in life? All right. Now, hey, what y'all gonna learn here, I know it's gonna help y'all in science, it's gonna help y'all in all that stuff, but this stuff is cool stuff. And again, we are hip hope. Hip is forward thinking, innovative, contemporary, forward thinking, all of that. So, man, I'm excited to see what y'all come up with at the end of this. This is dope. I don't need to say no. This is really dope. And I hope that y'all guys, just think about how you guys would apply this, man, to y'all, whatever you're passionate about. You get what I'm saying? Because this is win-win-win right here. All right.
Cool.
This is the day.
So before I really get into who I am and what this program is going to be about, I would love to learn a little bit about you all. I don't think we have as much time as the last class. But how much time do we have, by the way?
You have longer because they're done in 3.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So thank you very much. So my name is David Jones, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Lumena Energy. We are an energy as a service software company that manufactures virtual power plants. I'm seeing a lot of question marks about what a virtual power plant is, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But before I do that, can we just go around, just introduce yourselves? I have 3 requests. Name, where you're from, how much do you know about renewable energy? And we can start with you, please. You gonna learn today? No. Let me get into it then. So, as I said, my name is David Jones. I'm the CEO and founder of Lumena Energy. First and foremost, I am a technologist, which essentially means that I have a higher level mastery of many forms of technology, many of the things that would otherwise make life unlivable. I'm a software engineer. Here's a big word. So who knows what polyglot means? Any ideas? So a polyglot is a person that can speak 3 or more languages. Can anyone guess how many languages I speak? Take a guess, it doesn't matter.
5.
Close.
4.
6. I speak 6 languages. I was a pilot in my former career. I have traveled to 74 countries. I have received the Google Innovator Award, which is one of the most prestigious honors that a technologist could receive. And most importantly, I love ramen. So, we've gone through that. Oops. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my company and some of the innovations that we've created. Does anyone have any idea what a virtual power plant is? No? Think about it like this. In Iowa, who do you guys get your power from? Alliance, right? What if I were to tell you that each of you could become your own alliance? What if I were to tell you that all of the buildings around could become energy generators? All of the solar farms, all of the wind farms, all of the hydro dams, everything that produces energy would become part of a virtual power plant. I've invented a type of technology that essentially allows us to manage the traffic and the transactional flow of both items that are on grid, and I'm going to get to what those are immediately, and off grid. So using a piece of software, it connects all of these pieces of technology together and then allows you to trade that energy that you've stored in a battery on your phone. Have you all heard anything about that? No? This is brand new technology. It's only been around for about 5 years, and I've been working on this for roughly 3. So I literally am I'm the George Washington of this thing. I'm the Osiris, you know? But yeah, so what virtual power plants essentially do is to connect all forms of energy together to create what's called a decentralized model. Does anyone know what decentralized means? No? Decentralization is basically the concept of not having a single master. So it's not just an Alliant Energy that's giving you energy. Now you can rely on hundreds of thousands or millions or even billions of different generators. Don't you think that's way more powerful? It's so much more powerful than just having a single person or a single entity that's relaying that energy to you. Oops. So step 1, you have a renewable energy source. By the way, can anyone name any renewable energy sources just off their heads? What is it?
Wind energy.
Wind energy. Yes. Anybody else? Solar. There you go. That's the poster child right now. And by the way, there's going to be some prizes that I'll be giving out periodically to those who get correct answers. Second. I will be giving out actual solar cells that you can keep. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with them. For people who give right answers, participate, etc. Before I move on, real quick, at the end of this program, I'm going to break you all up into groups, and you will actually get together with these keywords that I'm giving you throughout this lesson, and we're going to create a piece of AI art. We're going to create your own renewable energy engine, and whoever wins is going to get a prize at the end. Does that make sense? Okay, so moving on. Step 2, you have battery storage, because once that energy is produced, you got to either use it or it's just going to dissipate, right? So you have different types of battery storage technologies. You have lithium ion, you have lead-based, you have gel-based, there's all kinds. And right now we're moving towards something called solid state. Does anyone know what solid state battery is? Let me tell you, you do know what it is. Who has a cell phone in here? What do you think is powering that right now? Solid state battery. Yes. So number 3, Parsec is the name of our energy management system. Basically what it does is, as I said, when that energy is stored in the battery, the energy management system allows you to make transactions from your phone. So like if, for instance, you accrued like 1,200 kilowatts of energy, you would be able to share that back, make money off of it in your sleep. Like, all you have to do is press a single button, and then it would generate a transaction via the energy blockchain. Does anyone know about the blockchain? Does anyone know about Bitcoin? Yeah? Okay, so does anyone have an idea of how Bitcoin and the blockchain work? No? Think about it like this. The blockchain is essentially a ledger. So like if I, David Jones, gave, what was your name, Presley, right? If I gave Presley $1, then a transaction will be created that says David Jones gave Presley $1 at 1:08 p.m. And you get what I'm saying? And so with energy, it works exactly the same way. To say Presley has shared energy into the blockchain, 1,200 kilowatts, and is now going to receive $300 or whatever the case may be. And then it would be recorded so it could be audited and other people could see it, and you would essentially make your neighborhood way stronger, way more robust. Like, think about the usage of something like this. Has anyone ever been part of a natural disaster, like a hurricane, tornado, anything like that? Yeah? It's scary, right? What's the first thing that goes out when there's a natural disaster? But more specifically, what is the first thing that's gonna, like the first system to fail? Your power. The first thing that's going out. But imagine what a virtual power plant could do for these kinds of situations. Like, you guys remember what happened in Texas, what was it, 2 years ago? With the freeze? Their entire grid was shut down. Like, it all failed. A lot of people passed away. They froze to death. Like, people who were on oxygen ventilators, like they died because there was nothing powering those things. But if you had millions of people powering something instead of just relying on a single unit, what would that do for the world? What would that do for people in poor countries, people who are in war-torn countries, people who are part of hurricanes and all sorts of other things? It changes the trajectory of the world, doesn't it? So that's what I've created in a nutshell. Any questions? Good. So we're going to get into types of renewable energy. Okay. So alongside of creating virtual power plants, I also am the owner of a trade school that teaches renewable energy technology. So here in our office in Chicago, in the Willis Tower, these are actually some students that are learning how to create what's called a series circuit from a solar panel. Does anyone have any ideas how solar energy works before I get into it? Any ideas? Yes, sir.
You said solar?
Solar energy, yeah.
I'm guessing the sun goes on a panel and energy form?
Yeah, basically. I mean, and I'll get into some of the deeper components of that in a moment. Has anyone ever touched a solar panel? No? You will today. So, before I do that, would you mind joining me up here real quick? Have a little participation. I want you to name every component of a solar panel based upon that. Like, you show me where it is, just point it out.
Frame, glass.
Yep. Encapsulants.
Encapsulant. Junction.
Junction box.
Junction box.
Yep.
And back sheet.
Exactly. Thank you very much. You can pass this around too. So these are the different parts of a solar panel. It's, as you can see, it's very simplistic. I mean, there's not really much to it. It's not nearly as complex as a person might think it is. All it's doing is taking what's called solar irradiation from the sun, and it's taking those electrons which are passing over a wafer, and it's just pulling them in. It's pulling in those electrons, and then it's being transferred to a junction box where it can create a current. Does that make sense? Really simple. This is an actual solar panel factory, one that we've partnered with. And if you guys ever come to Chicago and become part of our class, you'll actually visit one of these places. There's an actual, there's a line that these go down where these things are created. It's very exciting stuff. Who understands what geothermal is? Any ideas? It's okay, don't be shy. I need to give out some of these solar cells. I need some participation. Yes.
Is it like, this might be really off, like
It's okay.
I'm kind of just,
Yeah.
it's a guess, but I've heard it before. Is it like, I don't, like energy that kind of comes from the ground, or is that?
Get up here. Yes.
Is that
yes,
correct?
That is correct. That is exactly
Okay.
what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So she's right. Geothermal energy is essentially energy that comes from the Earth's core. So what's in the middle of the Earth's core? Lava, right?
Lava.
Lava and a lot of iron ore. So what happens when lava touches water? It boils,
Yeah.
right? You can participate too, Bo. It's anybody wants to be part. Yeah. So think about it like this. At the core of the earth, there's lava. That lava then boils water like underground rivers that are hundreds or thousands of feet below the surface. What this does is it takes that hot water, that steam rises up, and it goes through a turbine. Does anyone know what a turbine is? Somebody tell me what a turbine is.
Isn't it like, it's like the source of energy, right? Or like it's a.
Yes, it's a type of, it's a mechanism that spins.
Yeah.
So that it creates friction, the friction creates heat, the heat creates electricity, right? So some devices that have turbines would be like a fan, right? Like the fan that you have at home, it spins, it's a turbine. So then it goes through a generator, that generator then creates electricity, and with a geothermal plant, it then transfers that energy into transmission lines, the same ones that you see right now. But you also have a second side to geothermal energy. It's not just hot, it's also cold. Now, obviously where you guys live in Des Moines, Iowa, it's not necessarily, it's not a hot place normally. I mean, if you look outside, it's 10 degrees right now. But is it like that in Dubai? Is it like that in, I don't know, Nigeria? No, it's really hot. Caribbean? What if there was a way to dig into the source of the earth, like go hundreds of feet down and be able to take the naturally occurring temperature, which is around 60 degrees by the way, and funnel it through your house? Do you think you would ever need air conditioning ever again? No. That's what geothermal does. Now, what's been happening lately is solar energy has become the poster child. Like that's the thing that everybody knows because you see solar panels on people's houses and it's cute or whatever, but there are multiple forms of renewable energy that are far more powerful because, and I'll just be very honest with you, solar energy is great, but if anyone can tell me one downside to it, what would you say it is? Like what is one bad thing about solar energy?
It's not always, it's not always reliable, the sun, the
Precisely.
powers and everything.
Thank you. That was a good answer. Here you go. Yeah, so there's sometimes clouds. There are sometimes situations where there's just not enough solar irradiation that can create enough current. When that happens, then it's basically useless. So what do you do in that situation? You would have to rely on fossil fuels or other forms of renewable energy. So, does anyone understand how wind energy works? If I were to ask you how a fan works, what would you say? Electricity, yes. Okay, here's a good example, right? So everyone's had like a pinwheel before, right? Like those things you blow and it turns around. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is this is way larger. So has anyone ever actually seen a wind farm? They're huge, right? I'm talking, they could easily be 100 feet tall or more. We basically use the wind that is created from the earth current, right? So the earth makes revolutions and it creates wind. The tide comes in and it makes wind, right? That basically creates wind power. So, I mean, this device is way more complex than, say, a solar panel because there's more things going on and it's all based upon motion rather than using light energy. But it basically uses a rotor, uses a low-speed shaft, and it creates a generator, and you have a tower which it's held up, because usually you have to have them at higher elevations in order for them to be useful. Any idea how tidal energy works? Has anyone been to the ocean? So, if you were to take a guess, anybody, how would you say that waves come into shore? Anybody?
Isn't it like controlled by the moon or something? I can't remember.
That's exactly what it is.
Is it really?
Yes, smart cookie. That's exactly what it is. So the moon's gravitational pull basically pushes the ocean, because what is the Earth mostly made out of?
Water.
Water, exactly. It's mostly made out of water. So day or night, there's always going to be waves that are constantly crashing into the shore, which is a form of physical energy that can be harnessed. And I'll get into it a little bit later. Actually, we'll watch a video in a moment that explains the different types of wave generators and how they work. So if you give me a second, I'll cue that up.
Tidal power. Tidal power is a form of hydropower that converts the energy from the
everyone hear
natural
okay?
rise and fall of the tides into electricity. Tides are caused by the combined effects of gravitational forces exerted by the moon, the sun, and the rotation of the earth. Tidal plants can only be installed along coastlines. Coastlines often experience 2 high tides and 2 low tides on a daily basis. The difference in water levels must be at least 5 meters high to produce electricity. Tidal electricity can be created from several technologies, the main ones being tidal barrages, tidal fences, and tidal turbines. Tidal barrages are the most efficient tidal energy sources. A tidal barrage is a dam that utilizes the potential energy generated by the change in height between high and low tides. This energy turns a turbine or compresses air, which in turn creates electricity. Tidal fences are turbines that operate like giant turnstiles, whereas tidal turbines are similar to wind turbines, only underwater. In both cases, electricity is generated when the mechanical energy of tidal currents turns turbines connected to a generator. The generator produces electricity. Ocean currents generate relatively more energy than air currents because ocean water is 832 times more dense than air and therefore applies greater force on the turbines. Tidal power is easy to install and renewable, having no direct greenhouse gas emissions and a low environmental impact. Because the ocean's tidal patterns are well understood, tidal energy is a very predictable energy source, making it highly attractive for electrical grid management. This sets it apart from other renewables that can be more unpredictable. However, adoption of tidal technologies has been slow, and so far the amount of power generated using tidal power plants is very small. This is due largely to the very specific site requirements necessary to produce tidal electricity. Additionally, tide cycles do not always match the daily consumption patterns of electricity, and therefore do not provide sufficient capacity to satisfy demand. That's tidal power.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
So does tidal power have any effect on ocean wildlife?
I mean, so the thing is, are you saying us harnessing it, or are you saying?
Yeah, utilizing tidal power. Like if you said one of the energy sources, will it harmfully impact ocean life?
It has the potential. So with tidal turbines, it does have a spinning blade. I mean, fish can clearly get caught in there, but the thing is, there's not really enough motion that would create enough force to kill a fish. And I mean, fish are not stupid creatures. You know, they usually will avoid those kinds of things in the first place. But it is possible. It's the same thing like with wind turbines, like how birds can fly into them and so forth. But it's unlikely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Who's familiar with this term? So, solar punk is the future of renewable energy. And for a second, I just want you guys to envision a world that does not look like this. Envision a world where we're not fighting nature. Like every day we're trying to mow grass, we're cutting down trees, we're doing all sorts of things that are polluting the atmosphere, right? Well, what if there was a future where we didn't fight nature and instead we tried to work alongside it? And what I mean by that is having plants, for instance, that are growing on the sides of buildings that consume carbon, having rivers and lakes that flow through cities so you can make boat travel possible, clean air, like all of these types of things are very much possible. This is the future that I'm personally working on right now. So this is an actual example that my artists created of that future. Doesn't that look awesome? Mm-hmm. So with solar punk, everything is very lush. There's a whole lot of natural carbon that is being captured, as well as just a cleaner environment. It's a healthier place to live and work. It's not so gray like you would find in New York City. Like things are more comfortable and they are overall happier. So right now, my company is working on building a smart city campus, and I'm inviting all of you all to come down and visit. And I was talking with Bo yesterday, so there will be opportunities available for you guys to make money, to intern with us, and to help build out this new campus that will showcase all of these different technologies. We're also going to be getting into fashion. So I know that fashion was a big component of what you guys are into. So who's into fashion here? Are you guys, do I have any designers among me? Really?
I draw out.
You like to draw? There's going to be opportunities for you all. So in the campus, we're actually going to have real solar punk fashion shows that have future technology, smart fabrics, some of which that I've created, and the opportunity for you guys to get your ideas out there. Doesn't that sound amazing? So these are actually some of the costumes and renderings that we put together of futuristic wardrobe. And a lot of this fabric will be able to do a lot of things. So it's not just clothes you put on your back that looks nice. You'll be able to put this clothing on, and there'll actually be sensors available that will tell you what your heart rate is. It'll be able to warm and cool on demand. And guess what? It all works based upon your own body's electricity. Who knew that your body created electricity? What's the name of it? What would you call the body? What is it? Electrolytes is a way that electricity passes through the body, yes. More importantly, it's called bioelectricity. So dealing with biology. Your brain would not be able to function without that. Your nerves, your neurons, all of that functions with electricity. And so these costumes and these new types of fabrics will be able to basically pull that charge off of you. Did you know that your body actually generates around 200 watts of power? The average light bulb is about usually 75 watts or so. So, I mean, it's almost twice, it is twice that actually. Who knows what cyberpunk is? Tell me about it.
Cyberpunk is like a futuristic, like, vehicle, no. It's a movie. I don't know how to describe it.
Both of you can answer, but you go first.
Cyberpunk's like a way to kind of like dress, like cyber kind of.
Yeah.
And like different like vehicles and how the world is. It's like more lights and like electricity.
Yes. Yes.
And then like a new generation of humans that can use like new technology and stuff.
My man, that's the answer. Yes. So in the future, cyberpunk is what's called dystopia. Is anyone familiar with that term, dystopia? Dystopia is the opposite of utopia, which means like it's a bad reality. This is negative. So in cyberpunk, everything is very computer interface, like people are not interacting with each other. The skies are clearly polluted with smog, like it's very hard to breathe. You can't drink the water. It's a bad reality to live in. But also, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Yeah, Kendall, you said? Not you, him, in the green. Nate. Oh yeah, because you have my middle name. No disrespect. So also what's going to happen with cyberpunk is there will be it's called a cybernetic enhancement, which you were talking about. Well, people will be able to, like, if they have their limbs cut off, they'll be able to get robot replacements, basically, which is pretty cool. Who's familiar with brain-machine interface? Have you all ever seen The Matrix?
No.
So there was a scene in The Matrix where one of the characters was, they were trying to get out of a situation, and she's like, I need to learn how to fly a helicopter. And a guy who was helping her pressed the button, and she instantly knew how to fly a helicopter. Did you know that technology is coming soon? It's coming. So it'll actually be a part of our society in the next 10 to 15 years. Of course, it's going to start off slowly, but there's kind of a downside and there's an upside to it. So it's unclear as to what all of those things are going to be. This is emerging technology, but most importantly, we have to be cognizant because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, it could turn into a cyberpunk, or it could turn into a solar punk, which is the complete opposite. And it's up to you guys to be ethical. Who knows what ethical means? So the term ethical means that you think consciously about the decisions you make. Like, an ethical decision will be, for instance, not littering, right? What's another form of an ethical decision? Yes.
If you're trying to make something that you, what the boss told you to do, but you actually made on an accident, but the boss, like the accident, like you made, like make the newer technology and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so example, people, when we were talking about electric vehicles yesterday, so part of someone mentioned autonomous vehicles yesterday, I forget who it was, but the idea that these vehicles can drive by themselves, but I don't know if you all even realized it, did you know that there's a bias based upon electric vehicles that if they're driving, they're not going to see people with darker skin? Who knew that? So that means that the accident ratio is going to go up unless people like you get in on this and start helping to develop code and to develop a system of ethics. We could be in a very bad situation. So you can either have a cyberpunk reality or a solar punk. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is also another example of how cyberpunk would look. You see how dirty and crowded and just overall ugly this scenario would look like?
Mm-hmm.
We want to avoid that, and we avoid it by being ethically conscious about the technologies that we create, the decisions that we make every day. Because to be honest, like, if you look around, most people don't care. Like, they're just doing whatever they want to, and they're not afraid of the repercussions. So who's good at math here, by the way? You are?
No, not that much.
Has anyone ever gotten into algebra? No? Yes? Is anyone familiar with linear algebra? You in the back? Yes. No? Just raising your hand to say hello?
A little bit.
So the math behind electrical engineering has a lot to do with polynomials and using linear algebra. So this is actually an example of some of the questions that you would have to solve in my field. So a constant current of 80 milliamps passes through the wire. What charge passes through the conductor in 1 hour? And this is what that answer would look like. So I won't go too much into it because I know it's probably going to go over your heads, but this is what you could expect to deal with in the real world when you're developing systems or architecture or trying to solve real problems. Even when you're trying to wire a house or put in a new light fixture. So these are some terms. Can I get one volunteer to come up? Please. She's one of the best students, by the way. Tatiana, she's awesome. Can you just read off some of these terms? I don't know if you can see those.
Can I start from the top?
Yeah, just start from the top, like right here.
This one or that one?
Right here. You see where the pointer is?
Alternating current, AC, amps, atom, battery, blackout, brownout,
Capacitance.
Capacitance,
Mm-hmm.
charge, circuit, conductor, current, direct current, DC, distribution lines,
Mm-hmm.
electricity, electron, energy, energy management system,
Fission.
vision,
Mm-hmm.
fuse, memory.
Thank you very much. So, remember we talked about alternating current yesterday? Does anyone remember what alternating current means? Please, go ahead.
A direct current.
That's the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Mhm.
Direct.
I'm not sure, can you see that okay? Can you, no? So, it's an electric current that reverses the directions of current intervals. Amps is the measurement of current flow through a conductor. So you remember we were working with the multimeter yesterday? And it had the different settings where you could check what the current was and the amp was? That's an example. Who knows what an atom is? Yes.
It's something small.
Yeah, so the atom is the smallest building block of all life. Everything around us, everything that you are, is based upon atoms. There are trillions of atoms
Yeah,
that make
but-
up your body. Yes.
But all atoms don't touch each other because they have like a gravity force between them.
Exactly.
That stops them. It's like a magnet. It's two of the same size.
Mhm. That's correct. So he's absolutely right. Atoms do not touch each other, which means that there's a lot of empty space in between every one of us. And imagine what we could do with that empty space if we were to push all those molecules together.
They would try to just like if you push a magnet hard enough, it'll touch. But like,
But there's opposite polarity, right?
yeah, so like it wouldn't really like stay there. You get the same amount of force for it to
Mm-hmm.
stay there.
Exactly. So who's familiar with the term brownout? Anyone familiar with that term? So think about this. Remember we were talking about my virtual power plant yesterday and how sometimes supply does not meet demand, which means like if everybody in this city, West Des Moines, turned on all of the electronics in their house, what do you think would happen?
Electricity will-
Brownout. A brownout would happen. So a brownout is basically when there's just not enough supply to meet that demand. A blackout is different. So a blackout deals with, for instance, a fallen power line, a bird flying into a transformer, all kinds of things like that. And it happens during storms, right? Or situations like that. Who knows what a circuit is? Yes. Not you, because you answered 2 questions already.
A circuit is when, like, say a string, say a wire,
Mhm.
say a wire breaks and it starts working.
Yeah.
It's like a circuit.
It's similar. That's called a broken circuit. So imagine this. Yes. Yes.
A circuit is something like you can like electricity can pass through.
Correct. Think about it like this. Electricity is very simple. It travels along a straight line, but in a circuit, that can either become a closed loop or it can become part of an open loop. So if you have a straight line that turns into a circle, that creates a circuit, right? And what happens if you cut that line?
Broken circuit.
That's it. So for instance, even in this very room, if one of the light bulbs was pulled down and torn apart, what do you think would happen to the rest of the circuit?
Yeah,
It's not gonna work anymore, right? Exactly.
You have to replace the wire.
Yes. Who's familiar with distribution lines?
I've heard that word.
What if I were to use another term, a power line? Yes.
A power line, something that connects all the energy together.
Exactly. It's a delivery system. Yes.
Like, just the word, the first word in it, like, almost tells, like, the name of it.
Exactly. So right now, we're using very old technology that has not been improved upon for like 100 years. We are destined for an upgrade. And I didn't even think to put that in the next part where I'm going to teach you guys how to make money. But think about if you guys were the inventors of the next form of electricity delivery. Do you realize how much money you would make? You would literally be billionaires or even trillionaires in the future. So right now, you have transmission lines that take energy from Alliant Energy, from hydro dams, from solar farms, and it creates a network. Does that make sense? What? In the future, I think that we're going to have something much cooler. Does anybody know who Nikola Tesla is?
Huh?
Who's Nikola Tesla?
Every Nikola Tesla that is the first person to run all channel cars and stuff like that.
Like, you mean like electric cars?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nikola Tesla, the first person to ever invent an electric car.
He's one of the first people to invent the electric car. Yes.
Nikola Tesla is he's one of the first persons to invent a car that can do stuff on its own. He wasn't like the first person, but like he was more like he has more offensive. Like you couldn't even just break the window.
So, I think what you guys are referring to is a man named Elon Musk, right? So Elon Musk created a company called Tesla, but that was inspired by another man named Nikola Tesla, who is from Yugoslavia. Yes.
Practically he stole his idea.
It's not necessarily that he stole his ideas, because a lot of the things that he created became patents. And when you have a patent that's old, it becomes like public knowledge. So what Nikola Tesla did is he invented a whole world using electricity for free. Is anyone familiar with a Tesla coil? Yes.
I think, yeah. Aren't they like powered? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, you're on the right track. Yes.
Like powered coils,
Uh-huh.
like a regular coil, so are they like powered?
Yes, they are. Yes. Yes.
Teslas are like those one thing, like little things with the glass and like they sell those little things on it.
Yes. So, have you all ever touched one of those globes where when you touch it, like the electricity touches your fingers?
That's what I was talking about.
Yes. Yes. So, think about the future of electricity being wireless. So, a Tesla coil can transfer power wirelessly from one node to the next. So, like in this room, if we had two Tesla coils set up, you could put one here, one at the far end of the room. Boom! You would instantly be able to transmit that electricity instead of using power lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But he created a whole slew of inventions. I've created a lot of inventions, and I want to encourage all of you all that if you do decide to go into renewables, like the world is just beginning to even understand what this is. Now is the time to get in and start just trying things. Even if it doesn't work, start building towards something, and eventually you could become like me. You could become a Nikola Tesla. You could become Elon Musk. I mean, the world is your oyster. But right now, there's no people out there that even look like us who are recognized for their inventions within that space. And we got to change that. Any questions so far? I got a good one. Okay, so let's talk about myths in the renewable energy space rather. Who can think of some? Nobody? So, yes. I'm sorry?
I was gonna say that, I don't know if it's a myth or not, I don't know if it's true, but that renewable energy produces less energy than what
That's a myth.
fossil fuel and stuff.
Yes. So that's actually a great example. A lot of people say that renewable energy is less powerful than fossil fuels, but here's the thing. Fossil fuels, number one, they're not going to be around forever, right? Does anyone understand how the cycle of fossil fuels works? Imagine this, take yourselves back 50 million years ago. Did you all know that trees are older than dinosaurs? Right? So 50 million years ago, 65 million years ago, there were no bacteria to break down plants. So what happens if something dies and it's not eaten or it doesn't break down? It just stays there, right? The thing is, over time, bacteria did form, which created a way to digest that wood and turn it into kind of a pulpy mixture. Over the course of millions of years, it sunk deep into the ground and created these massive black pools of ooze, basically, and that turned into unrefined oil. So that was the first form of fossil fuel that was harnessed in the early 1800s. Now, the thing is, if you continue to use those materials, it's not going to reproduce itself because it takes millions of years, right? And if you continue to use it, what's going to happen? It's depleted. There's not going to be anything left. But there's a lot of lobbyists who would say the opposite. They would say that, oh, we're never going to run out of fossil fuels. You know, we're going to have this stuff forever. It's not true. Granted, it's necessary right now, but eventually we're going to get to a place, and by our calculation, there's only around 53 years left of reserves anyway. So if you take any cues from history, a lot of wars have been fought over fossil fuels. But you got to realize that it doesn't make any sense at all, because if we know that the sun is going to shine every single day, if we know that the ocean is going to produce tidal waves, the wind is going to blow, wouldn't that make more sense? Like these naturally occurring forces are never going to stop. But fossil fuels, there will be a finality to. Who can tell me about electric vehicles? Anything? Does anyone understand how they work? So an electric vehicle is very much like your phones, right? You plug your phones in and a battery is inside of them that powers this device, which then is able to make the entire machine work. But a lot of lobbyists and politicians right now are pushing to get more electric vehicles on the market. But what happens when you have millions of these things on the road and no way to charge them? That creates a big problem, right? So in order to get to this point, electric vehicles have to meet up with charging stations and other types of battery technology. Otherwise, it's going to be us getting in a really bad situation that we will not be able to get ourselves out of. We talked about solar panels. So who knows how long a solar panel lasts? Any ideas? Take a guess. About 50 years, you say? It's about 25 years, which is pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty long lifespan. But what happens to those solar panels when they're rendered useless? They usually go to where? Solar panel heaven? Or? Yeah. Essentially what happens is these things are taken off of roofs or decommissioned and they're just thrown into landfills. But who knows what a solar panel is made out of? We just went over it. Silicon, right? What's glass made out of? Sand. Are those recyclable materials? They can be. They can be. I mean, if you break a pane of glass and you melt it down, is it going to become a single form again? Yes. With silicon is a mineral that produces an electrical charge. If you break down a solar panel, melt it again, and get the silicon out of there, then melt it back together, will it create a charge still? Yes. Renewable energy is bad for the environment. Would you say that's true or false? Yes. It's crazy. Nowadays, there's been so much money that's pumped into these campaigns that make people think that renewable energy is bad. And as a professional in that industry, I find myself arguing quite often with people online or in person who honestly think that this is a bad thing. And the only way to get out of this cycle of ignorance is to show them, to demonstrate how these things work, and I mean, sometimes you can't even do that. But I believe if we start early with you guys, that's what's going to make the big difference. So, no, renewable energy is not bad for the environment because it is the environment. Who can tell me about carbon pollution? Anybody? Yes.
Well, I know a little bit about this.
Sure.
Not much. Is it like a main problem with these like factories and like what they're like letting into the air? I don't really know, like for lack of a better word.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So you have things like smog, right? Smog is
Yes.
produced from waste runoff. You have, I mean, even, I don't even know if you guys know this. Did you know that when you spray an aerosol can, that's creating carbon pollution? When you're burning things like wood, people have been burning wood to keep warm for thousands of years, but did you know that that's contributing to carbon pollution? Here's a question, and you're probably gonna think this is crazy. I want you all to just take a guess. What would you say is the biggest contributor to carbon pollution? Anything, it doesn't matter, just shout something out. Industrial facilities, that's a good one. Anybody else? Cars, also a good one.
I don't know if this would make sense, but like wildfires, like.
Also a very good one, yeah. Very good. Anybody else? Yes. Planes, oh, man, that's a really good one. Planes actually do change the climate. What if I were to tell you that it was cows? You didn't see that coming, did you? So, imagine this. A cow weighs how much? About 500 to 1,000 pounds, right? They have two stomachs. Cows, they pass a lot of gas. And what's happening now is there are so many farms that exist that you have thousands of cows that are constantly doing that, and it's polluting the ozone layer because we need to feed our habits to have the next Big Mac or steak or whatever the case may be. That's the biggest contributor right now. But cars, industrial facilities, airplanes, all of those things are absolutely right. And eventually we're going to get to a place where we're at a point of no return unless we start doing something about it now. So it's great that electric vehicles exist, but in order to get to that place, we still have a lot of innovations that need to take place in order for it to be sustainable. Because many people will say that creating electric vehicles is hazardous to the environment, which it is. But that's where you guys come in. That's where you guys become renewable energy experts, or you become installers, or even like just advocates for that technology, and it makes things a lot better. Because otherwise, we're going to get to a place where, how old are you guys now, like 15, 16, something like that? So imagine what the world's going to look like by the time you're 50. It's going to look drastically different, right? Now, let me get to the next slide. The ozone layer, right? Who knows about the ozone layer? Yes?
Okay.
Somebody say something, it's okay.
Well, is it, I'm actually like, I'm not sure if I'm confusing this for something else, but is it like a layer that like protects the earth from, like, I think the sun, right? Or,
Yes,
okay.
from radiation,
Yeah.
from UVA, UVB rays, yes. This is a naturally occurring barrier that exists around the earth. And so what happens is when cows exist, when airplanes exist and so forth, it creates a greenhouse effect. Has anyone ever actually been in a greenhouse before? What happens when you go in a greenhouse? right? It's really hot, and it's very humid, because all of that carbon dioxide is being trapped by plants, and it has nowhere to go. So imagine what the world would look like if it was just 1 or 2 degrees hotter. Polar ice caps melt. Real estate that's on the beach becomes a lot less valuable. Anybody know why? Because it's underwater. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine, yes.
Doesn't what's pollution and stuff like basically like put little holes in the ozone?
Exactly, yes. So that's exactly my next point. Also, the problem with the ozone layer is it is being punctured. There's a hole in it right now, which means that there's more of the sun's negative, like it's called UVB rays, that are coming through, which can give you cancer. And it's very hard to repair. We have no way of repairing it ourselves. So once that thing is depleted, we're in a whole lot of trouble, because now you're talking about cosmic radiation, you're talking about, asteroids, all sorts of things that will come through and could mean imminent death for all of us. But in order to not do that, that's where you guys kind of play an important role. And obviously, it takes little steps. It's not like you have to even get into a renewable energy career, but just being cognizant of what you do every day, it makes a big difference. Before we get into that, let's do some hands-on stuff. If you guys want to gather around real quick, I want to show you some stuff. All right, anybody have any idea what this is? Close. So, Bo, you want to join in?
Oh, sure.
So this is actually called a multimeter. A multimeter tests the voltage or the amperage of a device. I don't have anything here.
Did you ask me so that you can electrocute me or something?
I did, no. No, we're gonna see how much voltage you have in your body right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be the guinea pig. No, so multimeter is basically used to test what voltage exists or the amperage of a device. So like, I'm not gonna do it obviously, but plugging this into a wall, you're gonna see what voltage is being carried out from it. Does that make sense? You wanna pass it around actually? Who knows what this is? These are all tools of the trade, by the way. So this is called a crimper. A crimper is used to strip insulated material and pull that off so you can actually expose the copper wiring underneath. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Pretty simple device, but this actually comes in handy when you're working on solar panels on roofs and so forth, because you have to get to that exposed copper wire. Now I'll explain why. This is my favorite. Who knows what this is? Any ideas? Nobody? This is called a soldering iron. Anybody have an idea of what it's used for? For soldering, yes. Exactly. So you actually use a solder. I'm not going to turn it on right now because these things can get up to around 400 degrees, but they're used. Where's my solder? Is it over there? There should be like a little tube. Oh, there it is. So this material here, we can pass that around as well. This is called solder, which is basically a type of lead-based material that can melt under high heat, and it's used to. Where's my? So has anyone actually seen a CPU or like a motherboard, anything like that? Anybody? So a soldering iron is used to actually connect components and create a circuit. Does that make sense? Okay. So you use that solder and you're able to basically adhere it to a surface of what's called a printed circuit board. This is actually one that I've created. This is called a microprocessor. This is an easy one. What is this? What kind of battery? This is called a lead-based battery. So, in the cars that you will drive, assuming that you have gas-powered cars, you usually have like a 12-volt battery. So you put two of these together, and you can get moving. This has been the de facto standard for many years, but now we're moving toward lithium-ion. Has anyone ever heard of lithium-ion? No? Has anyone ever heard of solid state? I said solid state earlier. There should be yes from everybody. Eventually, these types of batteries are going to be phased out. You can pass these on. They're a little heavy. Man, I thought there'd be more participation today. These guys must be tired or something. Yeah, I think that's it for that. If you guys want to sit down, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes.
So, how long, like, cause, like, we talked a little bit about how, like, pollution can, like, make holes in the ozone layer.
Mhm.
So how long does it take, or, like, how, is that, like, something that's gonna happen, or be, like, a really big problem in our lifetime, or is it gonna happen, like, years from now, or like, you know?
Yeah, it's actually a big problem right now. So if you notice, like the levels of cancer, of people that have been diagnosed with cancer has gone up significantly. The problem is that hole is probably the size of Texas, and it's only growing bigger as more carbon pollution is being put into the air. But the thing is, it can heal itself, but it will take time. So, I mean, it's taken hundreds of years, starting from the Industrial Revolution for this to occur. But we all have the ability to heal it now just by making simple steps and not contributing to it. Does that make sense? Yes.
So does your company specifically focus on trying to convert people to virtual,
Virtual power plants?
yes.
Yep.
So like how widespread have you guys gone so far?
Oh, we're across the United States right now. We're in 40 states, Canada, Dominican Republic. Yeah, we just worked on a project in Bulgaria, so now we're in Europe.
So does, right now, a majority of people's power, is it coming from like virtual power plants, or is it just like a percentage?
This is a beta program right now. So there are other virtual power plant companies that exist, but I would say that we're one of the more preeminent. We're really getting out there. We're certainly the largest black-owned one. Right now, a lot of that energy is still contained. So it's called a DER, or distributed energy resource. So you might have like pockets of solar farms or a pocket of tidal turbines and so forth, but nothing is really connected. And to me, that makes no sense, because why would you not share energy if you could? Yeah. Yes.
So those little, what do you call it, the little things that you're,
Solar cell.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
so how can we use those to, cause it's better for the environment, right?
Sure.
So, how can we use those again, like?
You mean the one that you have personally?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a small one. Like unless you have a number of them, because they only generate a small amount of voltage, you can't do too much with it. But if you have like a larger one, you could power your phone, for instance. You could charge your phone just by having it on your backpack.
Even, it can like charge my phone?
Oh,
like-
absolutely.
Really?
Tomorrow is going to be really exciting, because I'm going to teach you how to make money with all this stuff. Today is just getting into the interesting, like just how the nuts and bolts of it all work. But yeah, I'm going to show you how to make money, how you can make your own businesses right now. Yes.
Where is the old ozone?
Where?
Like exactly where?
Let me get back to you on that. Like I said, I mean, it's the size of Texas, so it's not really, it could, yes, it covers quite a bit of airspace. Yes.
Do you know if it's still like, if it's like began to heal, or if we're doing enough to where it's starting to heal, or if it's still like getting bigger?
I would say, like China right now has been a massive contributor to renewable energy, to carbon pollution. So they've shut down a lot of those factories. They're taking steps. They have the world's largest solar farm right now. It's actually shaped like a panda. It's really cute. But those types of companies and countries are taking big steps, but it's not healed yet. I mean, it's still massive. And at some point, if we're not careful, we can get back to it and start tearing down the damage we've already caused.
So right now it's slowly opening. It's not
Yeah.
okay.
No, I mean, could you imagine like if it was opening, even a foot a year, like that's really, really bad. But the thing is, we're,
I was just
we
looking,
have,
you were taking up half
right
the
now,
screen.
like you guys are gonna be the last generation of people that can get us away from that point of no return. And after that happens, like, it's gonna be really bad news for a lot of future civilizations. Yeah, so that's why, it's important for us to at least talk about these things so you can understand like what you can do. I mean, even like I said, even taking small steps like not spraying aerosol cans into the earth, that helps. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, fine. Let's break off into groups real quick, and we're gonna get on to the final exam. I thought that we would have more participation, so this actually ran a little bit faster than I expected. Where's the sign-in sheet? The task is simple. I just need one leader for this group to take it up there. Finish with yes. One more. I think there's 3, right? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Very simple. I gave you a bunch of keywords throughout this entire assignment. Now, I need you to write a list of 5 keywords, and what we're going to be aiming for is developing a type of renewable energy project, like using like wind energy, solar energy, moon energy. Get creative with it. Just make it so you use different definitive things like where it comes from, how big is it, what color is it, what's it going to be used for. And what we're going to do is use an artificial intelligence engine. We're going to enter all those keywords in, and we're going to create that device right now. And at the end, the winning group is actually going to win a prize tomorrow. Okay? So you guys have about 15 minutes to come up with your ideas, starting now. I should see every hand though. It shouldn't even be a question. Awesome. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going to break you guys up into groups, and we're going to have you all figure out how to create an idea using renewable energy. All right? And by the way, this is real game. Like, I wish somebody would have told me what I'm about to show you all. So you have the traditional route, where if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, there's always going to be jobs in renewable energy. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. A solar panel installer is perfect for someone who does not necessarily want to go to college. If you don't want to go to college for 4 years, you also have something called a trade school. Has anyone ever heard of a trade school?
Isn't it like something like college, but it's like shorter?
Yes, it's shorter. Yes.
Is it like a 2-year college?
It can be. So a trade school focuses specifically on one thing: carpentry, electrical engineering. I mean, just there's all kinds of things, basically working with your hands, working with construction, for instance. And a solar panel installer makes a very good salary. So, I mean, making $70,000 a year sounds pretty good, right? And especially if you only have to go to school for 4 months to learn that. You can instantly come out of college making $70,000 a year. Or you can start this and you can begin when you're 18 years old and not have to go to college and instantly start making that type of money. It's a really exciting field to be in. I mean, I've traveled all over the world making solar farms and doing solar installations, and it's the coolest thing that I could ever imagine. Wind turbine installers. Remember we were talking about wind turbines yesterday? So once again, this is in another field. That's not my particular field, but I know that there are constantly wind farms popping up, and there's a whole lot of jobs out there. There's not even a whole lot of representation for people who look like us. So it will be easy to make a name for yourself just by getting into this field. You could easily make $150,000 a year just doing this. Who's familiar with the term auditor? So an energy auditor is basically someone who comes into a facility like this and is like, we can tell you how to lower your energy bill, We can make your campus more efficient, so making sure that windows aren't leaking, that you have the right type of light bulbs. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Think of a manager, think of an auditor more like a consultant. So a consultant is someone who can work on their own. You can start your own business doing this. And really, I mean, that's a suggested amount just for working with another person. But if you create your own energy auditing company, sky's the limit. You can easily charge up to $2,000 per visit. You could easily be making $2,000 a day just doing this kind of stuff. This is a brand new field. So my company is one of the first to offer this training. You can easily make $300,000 a year working as a virtual power plant technician. So the thing is, technology breaks, right? Technology is always going to need maintenance. There's always going to need someone who's managing the flow and the infrastructure of this new technology that most people don't even understand and don't want to understand. But you could be making more than basketball players doing this kind of stuff and working not much. You could be in charge of the grid for an entire city or a country. Who even thought about doing solar panel cleaning? You thought about doing it? I mean, it's a really easy job. So I actually know a couple of people who have these types of businesses. They're making $630 just going up to clean a couple of panels with a dust mop and some cleaning solution. Yes.
Wait, so if I start in a solar panel, like installer, like that, can I also can I have both of the jobs at the same time?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, so you could easily have a full-time job, but then on the side, you can talk to these clients that you've helped to install and say, hey, if you need someone to clean your panels periodically, you can start your own little side hustle that way. I mean, it's really easy. You can make a lot of money doing it.
Wait, do we have to go to college for cleaning?
Oh, no.
Can a
You don't even,
child?
yeah, well, I won't say that. I would say that someone at least 18 years or older could do it. Because there's a lot of safety hazards, climbing on roofs and so forth. So just want to make sure that you're protected that way. But you don't even need to go to trade school to become a solar panel cleaner. That's a really easy job to get into. And you can make a lot of money doing that. Remember we were talking about how solar panels break and they can be upcycled and so forth? There's also people, when the time comes, that you need to remove those panels and either put new ones on or just not have anything on that property at all due to roofs being unstable or whatever the case may be. But you can make up to $6,000 each project doing something like that. It maybe takes you 5 hours. $6,000? Come on.
Hours?
What's that?
So,
For maybe 5-6 hours worth of work of just removing them. It's very simple.
can I have all three of those jobs? Because then I'll be big baller.
I was gonna say, you're gonna be a big baller.
Yes. That's for solar panels.
Yeah, you absolutely can though. You absolutely can. So, as I was telling you before, I own a renewable energy trade school. And that's basically how much I make per student, per class. So, if I have, let's do some quick math. If I have 30 students in a class and I charge $10,000 per student, how much am I making? 30. 30 times 10,000. $300,000 a class is what I make.
And how long does a class last?
So depending on the nature of the class, if you want to become a solar panel installer, that class is usually around 4 months long. If you want to do something in virtual power plant technician, that's probably going to be 5 to 6 months long because there's way more that you need to learn. This is important. This is something that you guys can do today. By the way, I don't sleep very much, so I'm always looking for the next business opportunity. And granted, I don't have time to do things like this, but literally, if you guys wanted to, you could go on a website called Alibaba today and buy a bunch of backpacks. Invest around $1,000 each of these backpacks that have solar panels on them would basically be able to charge your phones for a very long time. And all you gotta do is wear it. You can keep plugging it in and that's it. Like you'll always have a charged phone or whatever the case may be. The backpacks cost $30 to buy in bulk. You could sell it to your friends for $130. That's 10x your money. You get what I'm saying? Like you all could easily become millionaires. And I'm talking to you right now. You could become millionaires just by selling solar powered backpacks.
Wow. What if people don't buy them and you just waste it on your...
People will buy them because they don't know what it is. Have you ever seen a solar powered backpack?
No.
Exactly.
But I have seen like a solar powered phone case. You have like your phone, like if you have it on your phone case, it will actually charge you by itself.
But see, here's the thing. Solar energy works by the amount of space it takes up. So it's called surface area. Think about like how small a phone is in the first place, right? It's tiny. But a backpack, when you have a solar cell that's like this big, you're gonna be able to charge quite a bit. You're gonna probably get around, I would say, 50 watts worth of power out of something like that. I mean, your friends will love it. Like, think about going into high school and you always, like, people even come to you and say, hey, can I charge my phone on your backpack? People would do that. But then they're gonna be like, where'd you get that from? You can sell it back to them. That's game. I really wish somebody would have told me this. So, what am I doing right now with you guys?
You're teaching how.
I'm teaching Renewable Energy Workshop. I teach these things all over the United States, and there's no limit on how much we can make. I make my own price. I say this is how much I'm worth, and I charge my worth. So if you guys want to charge, $60,000 to talk to students or to talk to corporations or whatever, just for a few days, you can absolutely do that. That's what I do for a living, aside from my software. It's easy money. So this is the part where I'm going to break you guys up into groups. Who has the sign-in list? Is it right there? Can someone give me that, please?
For the final presentation, the students were placed into groups of 3s, and based on the keywords that I shared throughout the day, they were instructed to create renewable energy devices that could generate power. Once each group was satisfied, the list of keywords were fed into Midjourney, an AI art generator. Here are a few of the results. On top of a handful of generous goodies from our partners, each student also received a certificate of completion from Microsoft, my organization, and Hip Hope, the hosting nonprofit organization.
Yeah, now on 3, say Lumena Energy. 1, 2, 3.
Lumena Energy!
So as you can see, I think the kids had an amazing time. We all learned something new. And to the very best of my knowledge, this was the first time that anyone used artificial intelligence for a kids project like this. The huge takeaway was that the kids were able to figure out how to monetize. They learned a whole lot about the clean tech industry. And what's more is they learned about teamwork and also how to make their ideas come to life. Obviously, most of those ideas were not necessarily practical, but you get the idea. It's a good baseline for people to get a grasp on how to create stuff using the elements around them. So I hope you had a great time. We certainly enjoyed ourselves, and I'll see you around. If you haven't done so already, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy clean technology content, renewable energy, overall motivation as it relates to education, and see you around.